Alright everyone, gather around the virtual campfire for a story that'll have you checking your underwear. You might think rituals in the woods are just creepy fiction, but let me tell you about what happened to me and my friends Emily, Jenna, and Matt on a 4th of July holiday weekend we won't soon forget. Skinwalker Ranch in Utah. Have you heard of it? It's a hotspot for UFO sightings, cattle mutilations, the whole weirdness package. We were just a bunch of college kids, road tripping to escape the city and see some stars. We found this remote campsite deep in the desert, miles from anything familiar but close to Skinwalker Ranch. We thought it would be perfect for stargazing. Until the wind started. By nightfall, it was howling like a banshee, whipping those skeletal desert trees into a frenzy. Huddled by the fire, the flames barely chased away the chill that seeped right into your bones. Then it started. A low, rhythmic chanting, barely audible over the wind at first. Foreign, muffled, the kind of sound that crawls under your skin and sets your teeth on edge. We exchanged nervous glances, a cold dread settling in the pit of our stomachs. Local pranksters? Tourists lost and freaking out? Whatever it was, it felt wrong on a primal level. The chanting grew louder with each passing minute, and now there was this flickering red light in the distance, pulsing like a dying ember. Curiosity, that stupid, insatiable curiosity. You know the story. I grabbed my headlamp, its beam doing little to pierce the thick darkness. The path was barely visible, swallowed by the endless scrub brush. Following the sound, we stumbled into a clearing bathed in an eerie, blood-red glow, and that's when the real chills hit. In the center, a circle of weathered stones, ancient and out of place in the desert, seemed to be the source of the light. But the worst part? The figures. There were figures surrounding the stones, chanting in unison, their voices echoing through the vast emptiness. They wore long, black robes and hoods pulled low, hiding their faces from view. The air crackled with a strange tension, like walking into a charged storm cloud. Then, just as abruptly as it started, the chanting stopped. Silence fell, heavy and suffocating. One figure stepped forward, taller and broader-shouldered than the others. As it raised its head, I caught my breath. We couldn't see its face, shrouded by the darkness of the hood, but something about it, the way it stood, the way it moved, unnatural. It pointed a long, thin hand, illuminated by the red glow, straight at us. We ran. We didn't stop running until we burst back into the flickering light of our campfire. Huddled together, shaking like leaves in a hurricane, sleep was a distant dream that night. Dawn couldn't come fast enough. At first light, we packed up our camp in a frenzy and got the hell out of there, the memory of that night clinging to us like a bad smell. We raced to the park ranger station, babbling about what we saw. He looked at us with skepticism, but finally agreed to come back with us. We made it back to our campsite and made the terrifying walk back to where the clearing had been. But it was gone. No circle of stones, no blood-red glow, just a dense thicket of scrub oak and juniper, stretching out as far as the eye could see. The park ranger looked at us with a mixture of pity and amusement. Just another group of spooked campers. But we know what we saw. And sometimes, at night, I can still hear the chanting. Faint, like a whisper in the wind. Skinwalker Ranch. There are some things you just can't explain, secrets the desert holds close. And that's the scariest part of all. The feeling that we stumbled onto something ancient, something dark, that shouldn't be disturbed. So, the next time you hear stories about Skinwalker Ranch, remember, they might not be just stories after all. It was supposed to be a celebration. Independence Day, 2019. Everyone was outside, fireworks painting the sky with fleeting colors. But me, I was stuck inside, the boredom a-buzzing under my skin. Scrolling through the endless internet void, I decided to take a dive into the deep web. Big mistake. They say the deep web is a lawless Wild West, a place where anything goes. Conspiracy theories, disturbing stories, I'd seen it all. But this night, I stumbled onto a forum called Hidden Treasures. It had an unsettling vibe, even for the deep web. Most posts were weird but harmless. But one thread snagged my attention. The Independence Day auction, once in a lifetime. Curiosity gnawed at me. The details were scarce. just a promise of rare and unique items. A chance to enter a private chat room with a password revealed minutes before the auction. Against every single instinct, I decided to play. I've always been good at puzzles, at finding hidden things. At 11:55 p.m., my heart hammered like a drum solo as the password flickered into existence. Liberty. At least a dozen usernames flooded the chat, all anonymous shadows. The auction started with oddities, a chipped Roman coin, a first-edition horror novel with a spiderweb of cracks across the cover. But then, the username Patriot666 announced the next item. A rare experience. Become a part of history. A cold sweat trickled down my spine. The video feed flickered to life, showing a bare concrete room. The description was chillingly vague. The starting bid ridiculously high, 5 bitcoins. The usernames dueled, the numbers climbing faster than a runaway train. Finally, Freedom Fighter won with a staggering sum. Silence choked the chat room. The screen flickered, then came back online. The room was no longer empty. A man, bound and gagged, sat in the center, his eyes wide with terror. A choked sob escaped him, the sound raw and horrifying. The chat room erupted in horrified messages, but Patriot666 silenced them with a chilling click. The tension was unbearable. Then, a slow reply from Freedom Fighter. Let him go. A beat of silence. Then, a laugh from Patriot666, cold and cruel. A noble choice, he rasped. The screen went black. When it flickered back on, the man was gone. In his place, a blood-stained chair and a message scrawled in red across the wall. Mercy is rare. Independence comes at a price. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. I slammed my laptop shut, but the images were burned into my brain. Sleep wouldn't come, replaced by a cold dread. I opened my laptop again, hoping it was all a messed-up joke. But the forum was gone, vanished without a trace. Desperate for answers, I went to the police and reported everything I had seen. They were skeptical, to put it mildly, but they agreed to investigate. Days turned into weeks, with no updates. Finally, they called. They found no trace of the forum, no record of the usernames, and no missing persons reports matching the man's description. The experience left me deeply unsettled. I disconnected from the deep web entirely, but the fear and the questions lingered. Who was that man? What had happened to him? And who were the people behind hidden treasures? I tried to revisit the forum, but it was like it never existed. A digital ghost. Maybe it was just my rattled nerves, but even harmless news reports seemed to take on a sinister edge. A story about a missing hiker could have been about the man in the video. An article on a hacking ring felt connected to the chilling anonymity of the forum. The authorities, unsurprisingly, found nothing linking the disappearances to the deep web. Was I letting my imagination run wild? Or was something more sinister at play? To this day, I still don't know what happened to the hidden treasures site, or if it was even real. But that blood-soaked chair still scares the hell out of me. If you're ever tempted to venture into the deep web, remember my story. Some treasures are hidden for a reason, and some experiences are better left unseen.